Alrighty, everybody. Hello. Welcome to another episode of the Alex Cuesta Show. I hope everybody is doing well on this Wednesday, May 18th of 2022. David, we done something good, Dave. We done something good. We're back for a consecutive week again. We're actually, this has been a difficulty for us, and we are actually doing it. It's a really weird thing. Before I introduce Dave, if you like what you hear today, like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. Spread this word of mouth and go follow us on the socials. Go search the Alex Cuesta Show and you'll find it wherever you see that. So, hello, Dave. How are you?
I'm all right. I'm doing a bunch of different things and I'm piling work onto myself because that's what I like to do.
Yeah, he likes to pile work on himself and then he crashes and burns for a little while and then he'll be done for a little and then he'll pile it on again. And it's a vicious cycle.
It'll work fine.
You gain some knowledge, though.
Work just fine, yeah.
You gain a little bit there. So we have another fun show as we always do ahead of time. We're going to talk, probably not going to be as long a show, but that's okay. David's trying to push me into making shorter shows. I like to talk more. David likes to be more concise. He doesn't like to fluff. But the funnest fact is when I do the long shows, I tend to get David worked up at least once. So it's a good time. It's a good time, especially when we talk about UFC. David likes his UFC talk. Mm-hmm. But we are going to jump into a topic where David is actually the point man for this. On our shows, Dave and I like to put our hopes, our heart, and our soul into football leagues that are probably going to fail. This is potentially another one of those. We'll get into it. We're going to talk a little about the USFL. We are 5 weeks deep in the USFL. The New Jersey Generals are 4-1. The hometown Binghamton Stallions Birmingham. Sorry, not Binghamton. I'm in New York. Sorry.
Yeah, you made me mess up.
Sorry about that. Birmingham Stallions. Are they still undefeated? They're 5-0 at this point.
Yes,
they are 5-0, and they're the two leaders right now. And it's been fun. I've been able to watch some of it. It's funny. The other day, I had my brother-in-law over, and the Mets were on, Yankees were on, golf was on. I turn on the USFL. I go to the bathroom. I come back and he has even basketball. He had the playoffs on. He had the Boston game, but he changed it. I was like, oh man, I want to watch some USFL. So obviously not everyone is as big of fans as Dave or I, but Dave, you've been watching pretty religiously. You've been pretty dedicated to you more than I think anyone I know. In our group chat, you'll often put USFL is on. That's all you'll leave. First off, what are your impressions of the league? The level of play, what do you expect to see on a week-to-week basis now as you've watched more and more of it?
Well, some of it's a running gag, especially when I put it's on the group because I know
most of it's a meme.
Yeah, exactly. But overall, I mean, the level of play is okay. It's okay at the most, but I mean, it's the same thing as like what we saw at the XFL 2 years ago. I can't remember how long.
It's been 2 years now, yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, it's a first year of an upstart league, so it could be a lot worse. I'll give him that. Like it could be a lot worse. Kickoffs are a thing, and there's a bunch of other things that they've done in order to try to make it somewhat interesting. Overall, I don't think it's a terrible product. They're actually being shown on live television. The commentary is not bad. In fact, they got Cam Jordan in for a game.
Yep.
So overall, I would say at least give it a chance. For me, and I'm sure for you as well, when it comes to these leagues, these, I would say more experimental leagues, some of the things that they think about doing to implement to a football game to make it either more fast-paced or more transparent and just more understandable is something that's always interested me because these are things that the NFL could definitely try to put into their league as well. Yep. Just maybe in some fashion, just to make some interesting clips or to make the game a little easier for people that are more casual. Like with the USFL, they have Mike Pereira on tap at all times, not even talking to commentators. No, he's talking to the refs and going over whatever the flag was or whatever the play was. And you hear the conversation happening. You hear what they're talking about. You hear what they're looking at. So you can actually understand why the refs are coming to the conclusion that they are. You may not agree with it still, but at least you could hear what's happening. I think that's really good.
Yeah.
I think the fact that they have a helmet cam is really fun. Now,
I was waiting on you to touch on that. You have raved about the helmet cam.
Well, because if you look at it, it's awesome. If you watch the clips from the helmet cam, it's awesome. But the helmet cam of someone making an interception, the camera of someone getting hit by a running back, getting hit by a D lineman that crashed right through the line, you now get to see what these guys experience. Maybe not as fast as in the NFL, but it's still going at a pretty fast pace. So I think those make for some damn good clips.
Could you imagine having VR, watching this in a VR thing, like just watching a game and all of a sudden it switches to helmet cam and you just die? It would be incredible, actually.
Yeah. So, but that's the thing is this, it makes it a little more fun and it makes easier clips to generate to put out on social media and that people can watch and have a lot of fun with. Because I know one of them was just a running back running for like a 20-something yard touchdown. And you get to see the hole open up, him hit the hole, and him basically making the decision. You're following his path as he's going to the end zone. And that's really interesting to watch. But also they have guys mic'd up all the time.
Yep.
You're hearing them all the time. And I know that's happened before with the XFL.
I love what they do with the quarterback. As the quarterback is hearing, and then you hear the coach, hear the coach communicating to the quarterback the play and kind of going over. And it's not, you get to hear when the coach or whoever's calling the play is, not only do they give him the play, they also will give him a little bit of quick instruction. Like, hey, Mike should be here at this time. Call for the mic. He gives you the option on where you're going to go. Audible out here, this and that. Like, which probably happens in a typical football game. And I think it's also fun insight because even in a lesser league, it's a whole new fucking language that they speak when they call plays. And it's fortunate the commentary we have now and that they're all trying to kind of take the Tony Romo style a little bit, but we do get a breakdown. We get a breakdown when they hear certain things and the guys, I don't know how good or bad this is. I was thinking about this, Dave, because when you're listening to it, you're hearing all the cadence and everything. Number one, any team that's going to play you in the future weeks can go back and listen to commentary. They know all of your stuff. So you have to change a ton of things every single week. That has to be tough.
Exactly. And
number two, not only that, they're getting it broken down for them by people who have played the game in the commentary. So they are, and then they're guessing and checking whether or not they were correct, like whether or not they're going to sit there and, okay, why means this. Whenever they say why, it's here, and then it comes back and it's correct. Now they're just doing, all right, you're doing my job for me. Thanks. I don't even have to. They don't even have to watch film. They just watch the games. But that's definitely cool. Now, Dave, one thing I think about this league that maybe has on the former version of the XFL, especially the AAF and stuff like that, coaching. There's some really good coaches in this league and some really successful coaches. And none of these coaches are afraid to win in a way that they'll do whatever it takes to win. They're not trying to showcase, oh, we have great quarterback play, or we have this, or we have that. No, if the quarterbacks aren't working, they pull quarterbacks like this. No problem. They'll take a guy, I'll put the next guy in. I think it's settled down a little now that we're in week 5. They kind of established the starters. But week 1 and 2, the hook was quick. They were pulling it quick. If you weren't getting the job done, you're out. And we've seen some teams still going 2 platoon with quarterback. But in general, though, if the passing game isn't working, they're going to run the football. It's a lot less banging your head against the wall in this league, it looks like, with certain things, which I think is a breath of fresh air. Now, you mentioned where they're an experimental league and they're doing some things a little bit different where the implementation of rules are different, but they're also very willing to either get rid of rules, change rules, add things week to week. Now, that has to be complicated for a team, complicated for a player. But as a fan and as someone like you who's watched, I think you've watched at least a game per week in this 5 weeks. Like you are ingested a good amount each. How is that for you when you're seeing a league that is like, and I get it, the NFL kind of can't do this. No, they have to wait to the end of the year to do it. But how is it refreshing for you to see a league that's going, this is not working? let's do something different. Even listening to the coaches, I think Jeff Fisher got a rule change himself. Essentially, when he complained about something, and the league's like, no, Jeff's right. We're not going to fine him. We're going to make it better for him as a coach and for the players. How do you feel about that? And I guess in a way, do you kind of hope that maybe this is the only year of it, that they can kind of get their feet wet, they can figure it out, and then maybe next year not be as rapid with their changes?
I would kind of expect some of it next year as well. I'm not going to lie to you. It takes a lot to try to get this to be something that's
different than the NFL, but still be good.
Yeah, it takes a lot to get a league like this to, I wouldn't even say long-term, but let's say short-term, 5 years. Like to even last that long, 3 years. So I wouldn't be surprised if they still change up, maybe not as much next year if they continue next year. But it is very interesting to see how they're trying to react and change as much as they need, as much as they feel like they need to. I know in the beginning of the year, their roster size was way too small, and that hurt teams. And the kicking was absolutely atrocious. It's still terrible. Not great. It's still not great, but it's better.
What the hell has happened to the kicker? The kickers were never this bad. In the last 5 years, they have become, since the NFL moved the extra point to a 30-yard kick, which in every single world before that time was a chip shot, an automatic field goal. Since then, kickers have gotten terrible all around. I don't understand what happened. Are soccer guys being intimidated now, just not coming out? I don't understand why it's so bad.
I have no idea. It's really weird.
It was always
That's
automatic.
A whole other topic, though. I mean, because you could put out so many theories that are probably wrong as to why it's happened. But
they're not letting them wear a kicking cleat anymore, and they're not letting them deflate the ball anymore. That's my theory, and I'm sticking to it.
I don't know, but either way, there's obviously been some difficulties, and like I said, it's not the greatest football play in the world, but it's at least competent for multiple games.
Would you put it at college level? And what would you say, kind of second tier conference college?
Pacing, probably. The issue is that, especially when they have games earlier in the day, they're all in Birmingham.
Yeah.
So when you have games earlier in the day, like even 2 p.m., people aren't really in that stadium at all.
No.
So it's hard to get to know a game even just through through watching it without also like seeing any of the experience kind of in the stadium. It gets a little better at night, but those early games are a little tough for at least fans in person. Overall, though, I would say it's close. It's close to college level. It's not. If
you put the Stallions or Generals in the Big Ten or the SEC, are they competing for a title in both of those conferences? Or
I'm not sure. It's difficult to say because it's really
the pure size of the linemen and the strength maybe might
that could be a part of it
because they're definitely not 18 to 22. They're 30. They're 25. They're grown men, and they've had lifting programs in the pro level.
Exactly. That's the thing that would help them.
Yeah.
But it's still a lot of piecemeal stuff happening.
Yes.
Yeah. Like I believe they had 3 weeks before the first week started for everything to kind of really get together as a team.
Yeah, we're still in preseason.
So it's still a lot even now to make sure everything's as cohesive as possible, which is kind of impressive that some teams have been able to find their identity this kind of quickly. Like
the Generals won a game
identity completely.
Pittsburgh won a game and looked pretty decent doing it. They got that game-winning touchdown, the walk-off touchdown in the end, and they didn't look as bad as they have the first 4 weeks. They look like a much better team, a much more I want to say well-coached team too, because I feel like coaching, it takes a minute, because I think it's kind of weird for some of these coaches because it kind of feels like a college environment, but these aren't college kids. These are pros. And they want to be treated as pros. So it's kind of they're hardworking pros. They know that they're kind of in the G League situation, the minor league situation, but they still want to be respected. Now, curious, sustainability wise, now I'm going to put it in a different term, not just with the play, because I think we both agree that this can garner enough of a fandom that it can at least be sustainable. We can continue to watch this. It's not bad football. It's not amazing football, but it's not bad football. It's good football for spring football. When the XFL comes around, next year. They are basically have a deal with the NFL essentially to be a farm team, especially with experimental rules. So eyes are going to go to the XFL because they know because XFL is going to make a big deal out of it probably. Like this rule is a potential NFL implemented rule. Let us know how you feel about it kind of deal. So that's going to draw eyes because they're going to know they might be seeing this on Sundays. Mm-hmm. And now on top of that, they just announced that they're working with the Disney networks. That means ESPN. That means ABC. So now the biggest network in sports on the planet is hosting them. And not to say that USFL has bad networks. They play on NBC. They play on some major networks.
They play on Fox. They play on USA.
Yeah, they play on major networks. It's not like they don't. But ESPN kind of has a moxie about it. When you're on ESPN, it's a big deal. And when the NFL is involved as well, which is this kind of a trinity, considering the NFL works with ESPN for Monday Night Football, it kind of makes it seem like the success of the USFL this year may not matter if the XFL comes in with the head full of steam like they seem like they are. Do you think the USFL has kind of much of a chance against the XFL this 1 year? Does that give them an advantage considering the XFL is going to be in their infancy phase again?
I think definitely for the start of the XFL, if their social media game is good and if people care, honestly, people might already be a little kind of annoyed with trying to start up spring leagues all the damn time.
What is this, 5 now in 4 years? Or no, the FCFL, I guess, technically counts. Fan Control Football League. They're on season 2.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
they are what
somewhat,
they are.
I guess. Yeah, they're just having fun over there.
Yeah,
but yeah, but if people actually cared and want to watch at least the first week of the XFL, that's going to definitely be the toughest week for the USFL.
Oh yeah,
because I mean, new league. We'll see what happens with more of the we're connected to the NFL kind of thing, more of a farm league, because I find that interesting. I don't know how it's going to work out. Well,
they've said we're not an official farm league for players, but we would be willing to implement if they want to try out rules. They can try it out here first. Like they didn't go so far to say that players can, be taken and come down, but I certainly think that both leagues will be willing to break contracts if a player has a chance at the NFL in a sense.
They're gonna, if they're gonna already partner with the NFL with some things, they're gonna partner with the NFL in the long run. Especially if it's gonna help the company sustain as what they want it to be.
Yeah, The Rock's not a stupid guy.
Exactly. So I don't know how it's going to work out. That's not really something that's been tried.
No.
What's been
NFL
tried
hasn't
is
really been willing.
Exactly. What's been tried is here's a spring football league that runs right after the NFL just for some fun to try to get a little big. There hasn't been here's a spring football league that's going to be connected to the NFL in whatever way, whether it's players, whether it's rule books, whether it's whatever they're trying to do. So I'm interested to see where they're going to go with it. I feel like it definitely could hurt them in some ways, but it could also, I mean, you have the Giant with you, so it could definitely help you. There's a big plus there, but I don't know. I'm interested. I think the USL is going to take a big hit for like the first week, maybe first 2, depending on the product of the XFL and what's going on there. But if the USFL stays like transparent and experimental like they are, I know they had some issues with like the maulers and the guy ordering pizza or whatever the hell happened there, and some other things, but for the most part they've been pretty good. For the most part, their social media presence has been all right. They've had a full mascot thing, even though the mascots look pretty stupid. Still, they're trying.
Leave them alone.
But still, they're trying. They're trying to be a league. They're trying to have fun. They're trying to get people to go along with it.
Yeah.
I don't know how much money they put in. So it really depends on if whoever has put their money into this wants to keep going. Because I'm assuming when you get into this type of venture, you know damn well that you're losing money from the start.
From the get-go. You gotta build it.
Exactly. So it's going to take a while, and with the XFL, it's too early to really say what the hell's going to go on there, because the XFL is so much to talk about what they're going to do. And they're coming back from, honestly, what could have been a good start to a league, other than what happened with the pandemic. That will forever go to how big the cup snake was at their venue. because that was incredible.
They're epic.
People are having fun when something like that happens. That's the thing.
Yes.
So I will see what happens with them. USFL is off to an okay start. Honestly, it's probably a better start than you could ask for. If I'm starting a league like this, I'm not going to lie to you. No matter how good I try to make it be in the beginning, I would be prepared for something disastrous.
Without a doubt.
So,
without a doubt.
Overall, I would give a game a watch. It might not be great, might not be for you. I'm like I said, I'm interested in a lot of the experimental things about it. I'm interested to see where it goes from here, especially because there's not football on right now, and I love football. Mm-hmm. So if I'm able to watch it, I'm going to try to watch it. Hell, I haven't watched any rugby ever, and I turned on rugby because I have Peacock. And it was pretty interesting. I really had no idea what was going on, but it was still pretty interesting.
Well, there's a Jersey team in the USFL too, and that helps. A Jersey team is there, and that helps. Mm-hmm. With the XFL, it's kind of interesting. You mentioned, the juggernauts being with them. The NFL and ESPN Disney connection will help them in the beginning, especially. But like you said, it could bite them because the NFL could start telling them how they want them to do things because they're a partner. And Disney, being woke, could tell them what content they're allowed to say, what they're not allowed to say if they want to stay on their networks. So we shall see. I think the XFL might become a woke product. And, woke is never good. Woke is always bad. So we shall see what goes on there. But that was, fun talking about the USFL. We're not going to do a weekly thing. We did a weekly thing with the AAF, and it was terrible. It was probably some of the worst content we had. But we had the Apollos. We both were fans of the champions of the AAF, so that's all that matters. But we'll definitely check in probably a little bit down the line about the USFL, where it is, if it makes it to a championship week, who's a champion, because I don't think we've had a league that has made it to a championship week besides a spring league, and nobody gave a shit about the spring league. It's still going on, the spring league. Nobody cares about the spring league. It has no fanfare. So we shall see what goes on there, but we're going to jump into arguably the most important thing of our time right now that's going on. Nobody's talking about, because we're busy talking about gender and equity and all this other bullshit going on in schools. We are so busy trying to change little white girls into trans kids that we're not curious about if there's a fucking alien race trying to murder us. And the fact that our Congress is held the first open hearing to the public about UFO sightings that are asking our government about them, our military, in over 50 years. Dave, did you even know this was a story before I mentioned it?
Somewhat. I only saw a little bit on Twitter, but I didn't watch anything that happened there.
That's how fucking stupid it is. You would think that CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, New York Times, Washington Post, New York Post, whatever they are, whether you lean right or left, they don't, you don't have to do a full fucking paper, a full show about it, but you would think that they would have a major segment on it, that it would be a repeated topic on your cable news networks. It wouldn't be on CNN whether or not Tucker Carlson made the fucking Buffalo shooter go crazy, even though the Buffalo shooter said he was a socialist and an environmentalist in his manifesto. But I digress. But no, what we got is nothing really. This is a nothing burger, and it's arguably the most important thing we've had going on maybe ever, because a Congress committee held a hearing. And in this hearing, it was a lot more open than I expected. I don't think they were as open as they could possibly be, but it wasn't as bad as the shit they were giving Marco Rubio when he was demanding it. So just the general highlights, the general that was there, and I forget exactly where they were from. One was from a newly created division to track UAFs, I think they call them now. Their government terms for UFOs. They confirmed that since 2014, I believe, 2017, something like that, there has been more than 400 unidentified flying sightings. 400 that they have not been able to confirm what they are. They said some of them, they have theories about whether they were tricks being played with night vision goggles. Maybe it was something to do with the light. It could have been debris from other shit in the air. It could be bird patterns that were kind of messing with them on radar. But there is hundreds that they have unaccounted for. And they flat out said there's a certain number of things. I mentioned the birds, I mentioned the lighting, I mentioned some weather shit, but it also, they flat out said, this could be foreign adversaries that have developed technology far ahead of what we know, which right there, you're talking China, you're talking Russia. No one mentions India, but we're fucking talking India, the one of the most powerful countries on the planet that everyone just lets sit there and pretend like they're not. So we're talking one of those countries who could fuck us up if they have something like this. And on top of that, they also said they did not discount that it could be otherworldly. They're not discounting that it could be aliens. And there was one story that they told that they've been tracking for weeks on end this one object, spherical object. They've been able to track it. They have a new system that beforehand, they couldn't follow objects like this because our tracking devices weren't good enough to go with their speeds. We developed a new system that can track this thing where it ends up. And the scary part is, Dave, it's not like it's just flying at random, looking at civilizations. I mean, it'd be terrifying if it's hovering over cities. But you know where it's going, Dave? It's going to our nuclear sites. It's going to our military bases. It's going to our aerial practices that are top secret. It is engaging in pseudo dogfights with our aerial pilots, our aces, our best ones. And they flat out said, this object seems like it's playing games with our military. It seems like if it is an object, whether it's a foreign adversary, whether it's an alien, we're going to call what it is an alien, it is essentially telling our government, you cannot do anything. We have you checkmated at every single turn. And on top of that, they identified an alloy from the sphere. And they said this alloy, it has not been made by humans. We have no idea how to make it. So again, if a country like a China or a Russia has this, they've stumbled onto shit. And if Russia has this, why aren't they using it in Ukraine? Number one. Number two, one of the people brought up in the hearing that they don't believe it's a foreign adversary if this is what it is, because technology like this trickles down to a society. You cannot have something like this and not let it trickle down. So we haven't seen this type of advancement in any other society that could mirror anything close to this. So Dave, that is scary shit. And what's even scarier is it's Adam Schiff running the committee. We have one of the dumbest motherfuckers in all of Congress running this committee. So there's very little faith in him because he's a moron. But the committee did have some eye-opening stuff. And then they did do a confidential closed-door meeting, which, I mean, you're not holding the closed-door meeting if you don't think that there's more to it. So, Dave, what do you take out of this? Me and you have been interested in UFOs. We've been talking about how the Pentagon released stuff. Marco Rubio has kind of been, I mean, if he gets real stuff out of this, run for president again. I don't care about your policies. I'll fucking vote you in just to find out about aliens, dude. Just you can continue pushing. But we've seen some significant headway. The Pentagon guys confirmed we're as interested in you on figuring this shit out, not only for national security, just because we're scientists and this is kind of peak for us. Are we fucked? What do you feel, Dave? Like we might be.
Some of it is stuff we already knew.
Yes.
Like that UFO going around and doing dogfighting and on our nuclear plants. Yeah. And all those types of things. So some of it's stuff we already knew, but it is interesting that it's still getting pushed farther. Now they're actually talking about it in government, out in the open in government, publicly in government. I take on the theory that if we were screwed, we would have been screwed already. I don't see a reason that if you were able to come down here and look at the stuff that we have, you would have already done what you wanted to do.
Maybe they'll
for however, yeah, okay, for however long as the UFO, the UFOs have been around. If you've seen what we have and you're able to travel to this planet, you would have already done something if you wanted to, because maybe they're waiting for us to actually do fusion, and then they're like, haha, fuck you, you're gone. You gone too far. Probably not.
Push the button.
Probably not. No. It would be interesting if we actually get farther on this. If, let's say, if it is some kind of extraterrestrial life, or you want to get crazy, multidimensional life, if it is
Could be
something like that,
yeah,
then I don't know. I still don't know if we're ever going to really know about it in our lifetime. This is just baby steps of saying, oh, look, this is something weird. This is something going on, and we really can't explain it, especially with a metal that we know we haven't seen on Earth, that we can't identify.
Yeah,
exactly. So it is a very interesting topic. I would love to know what was said in the confidential meeting. I would really love to know.
Counting on you, Rubio.
but it gets tough at this point because, like I said, a lot of this stuff we already kind of knew. So what the good thing is it's a little more open. It's not getting poo-pooed.
Confirmation's a big deal because just because you know something and it's not confirmed, you still don't know.
Exactly. So it's helpful. It's very helpful. I would love to see something else happen, something not tragic happen, but I would love to see something else happen, whether it be whatever the hell this is, showing itself in some form for it to now be truly known, other than just from military, or us coming out and saying that we actually have a little more than what we've been showing. Because we might. This might just be, yet again, early stages of
we absolutely do
what we're seeing. Exactly.
There's no reason we started Space Force if we didn't want to prepare for something.
Are you sure
there was
it wasn't
no reason
just
to
because
have
of
it?
the name? Are you sure it wasn't? The name is really cool. It could have just been because of the name.
But they're training people to actually do this type of shit out there and be fucking defenders. They're called defenders. What are they defending?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What are they defending from?
Yeah. We need a big old space wall. So
rubber band ball in space.
But that's the thing, is that whatever this is, however big it really is, could be the kind of mind-breaking, really reality-shifting kind of thing that would change the whole planet. So we take what we get right now, we figure out more later, and we search for Bigfoot in the meantime.
Or we just try to figure out how to make little Sally into little Tim.
No.
That seems to be the goal lately.
No.
That seems to be the overarching goal. Just spread more diversity, inclusion, equity, spread more spread more SEL.
We search for Bigfoot.
We search for Bigfoot. Now, Dave, my running theory, I said to you, is that these are the lizard people coming to make contact with Nancy Pelosi to make sure things are going smoothly. Because after that knuckle rub fucking weird shit, there's no way that she's not a lizard.
That's not human.
She
doesn't have to be a lizard. She doesn't have to be a lizard, but she's definitely not human.
She could be an underpants gnome. The underpants gnomes are pretty
she
fucking
could be
weird too.
Whatever, dog. I don't know what she is, but that's not a human thing to do. It simply isn't. It simply isn't. Like we all know Mark Zuckerberg's not a human.
No, he's an android.
Yeah, there are certain people that we know are not actually humans. We don't have to lie to ourselves.
Did you see the meme of like Facebook and like their people like taking a selfie and they're all dead serious, like looking like androids? It's like, let's do the selfies like the humans do.
Yeah, it's some weird stuff going on. Whether
is Elon
UFOs
Musk a human, or is he an alternate alien that knows these aliens are evil and he's trying to help us? He's like the peaceful alien. It's like
there
the
are words
scrolls
that I want to use to describe Elon Musk, but I'm not going to because
big dick energy out of that fucking
no. He's too awkward. I would use another A word to describe it, but he's too awkward to be.
Oh, like Project Veritas calling him just an Asperger's guy. Did you see that video?
Yes, I did.
Calling him just a dude with Asperger's.
Well, that was not Project Veritas. That was a Twitter.
Not guy. Project Veritas. It was a Twitter guy. Project Veritas got them on it. Yeah, no. Sorry, James. Don't get mad at me, James O'Keefe. I didn't mean to slander you. But yeah, no, the UFO thing, like, it's kind of funny. It's like, why are we not dropping everything to just figure this the fuck out? Like, you want to stop the war in Ukraine? You tell fucking Putin and you tell Zelensky, listen, there's some beady-eyed motherfuckers probably going to come and liquidate all of you. Stop it. Like, it's I don't know, Dave. I don't know. We're all gonna die. We all gonna die.
It'll be fine. It'll be more like Mass Effect. And Mass Effect's still not great for humans, but it'll be more.
I
like
won't
Mass
be too
Effect.
happy if it's Mass Effect, Dave.
Still be more like Mass Effect than a lot of other things. There's plenty of more space stories that are way worse for humans than Mass Effect. At least you're going around and you're kind of mingling. But
yeah, I'm not a fan either. Don't like that. I prefer Star Trek. Just pretend like they're Star Trek. They're just a bunch of scientists. We are the ants in the anthill, and they probably just poke and prod us every once in a while to see what we do. Like, I feel like that's what's going on. Like they like we might just be ants in an anthill. We are the science experiment, and they're just like, let's just melt this ice cap and see if these motherfuckers freak out because they're stupid. And then they just vaporize it, and then it's like, that's why it's a global warming. So yeah, I had two people come talk to me about global warming today, Dave. It was interesting.
Well, that's good.
They came to my door. They were from New York. I don't know what it was. It's some environmental thing.
There's a bunch of Jehovah's Witnesses coming to your door.
Hey, listen, I don't like closing doors on people because I've done door to door and people are extremely rude. So I let them get through their spiel. And then the girl there was kind of like, I don't think you agree with us. I'm like, not necessarily. I'm like, I'm not on the same page. I'm willing to hear you guys out. I appreciate your civic duty coming out here and walking door to door. And the guy did not seem too happy. He just kind of turned stone faced. Yeah, he's probably like, you fucking wasted our time. Like they went through a good like 5-10 minute spiel.
Part of what you did could be seen as worse than closing the door on them.
They were the girl was nice. The guy they were fine. And like, I've done it. Like, at least I let them get their spiel out. So they could say they hit another house and, you know, they might get paid for how long they talk to people. I don't know.
Like I said, you probably wasted their time more than we thought you helped them.
No, I definitely wanted to waste their time because I wanted to hear they hit on all the things. They hit on evil oil making record profits and climate change is destroying things. And we're going to hold them accountable and we're going to save the planet. Hey, I give them credit. Listen, they might be wrong. They might be communists, but at least they're getting out there and they're doing it. They're doing the work, okay? In the words of your commies and in the words of our new press secretary, the work is getting done. Have you heard her say anything, Dave, the new press secretary?
I haven't heard a singular thing.
She's, following some of the things I do. You know, you just get Peter Ducey popping up, just grilling press secretaries on random Instagram videos, but you can't access Instagram, which is hilarious. But randomly, I just watched one and all she's doing is she's talking about the work is getting done and we're going to continue to do the work. And I'm like, can this motherfucker be more Marxist? Like, can she outwardly be more Marxist than just talking about the work all the time? It's.
Well, it's funny enough you bring up the work because I do want to finish this with a book I just read.
The work is never done.
It came out December of last year. It's called Bonfire of the Beasts. I highly recommend it, especially if you like Animal Farm. It is basically Animal Farm, but to our current times. So
who's it by?
You'll see
the author.
Scott Riordan made Prometheus Man. And
any relation to Ryan, whoever the Rick Riordan?
No.
Same.
Reardon. No.
Okay.
He made up the Prometheus Man in the Dark Continent.
Okay.
So, but yes, Bonfire of the Beast. I thought it was very good. You could see, I mean, it's very obvious the similarities. He's not trying to hide any of that to Animal Farm. I mean, there's plenty of things I could pick out. Like, okay, this is kind of basically the same thing that happens in Animal Farm, but just a little bit differently.
Are there animals and is it all animals and stuff again? Is it similar in that sense? Yes. Or are we dealing with humans?
Yes. You are being told from the story. It's a narrative from the story of kind of the perspective of Mother Goose on this farm. And same thing. It's pigs that start the revolution. Different kind of way that gets a little bit brought up. Some different things happen. There are still rights that are written on a barn. Rights change on a barn. But there's enough differences that it's not just, it's Animal Farm again. But it's you could see.
You're not dealing with Stalin and Trotsky anymore. It's not Stalin and Trotsky trying to be Lenin. It's basically people trying to praise of Marx, I'm assuming, like closer to that. Wokeism versus just straight up socialism. Who's more Marxist type of deal? Or
so it's still a bit of Stalin and Trotsky.
Okay.
The difference. I'm trying to remember Animal Farm because it's been a minute. I would say the difference here is though that the military might loses out to the spiritual might.
Is it still classism, or are they basing this more on ethnicity and race at this point? Because that's
They're basing on race. Race
okay.
is bigoted. Those words are used a lot.
So race Marxism.
Yes, probably basically. But like I said, I highly recommend it. If you liked Animal Farm, you'll like this book. Tons of similarities, but honestly, it gets a little darker, and it tries to be a little funnier. You could take or leave it how you want it, but I enjoyed it. Really quick read. It's about 122 pages. So,
okay, I appreciate that's a good book plug.
And it's free on Kindle.
There you go, free on Kindle. You can't beat that.
Mm-hmm.
Can't beat that. And one thing that we learned, I think, Dave, is when authors like that write these types of warnings, we should probably listen. Orwell wasn't wrong. I don't think Reardon's going to be wrong, basically remaking Animal Farm in a current setting, because we are looking at at a new version of Marxism trying to rear its ugly head. So we got to fight it. We will fight it. We will win, because good prevails over evil eventually. Right, Dave? We're going to end off on that high note. We're going to do it that way. All right. Thank you for listening, everyone. Appreciate it as always. Like, share, follow, subscribe, rate 5 stars on Spotify, iTunes. If you like what you hear, spread it word of mouth. And the Alex Questa Show on the socials. That is where we shall be. Thanks for listening, everybody. We shall be back next week with more fun shows and more fun things to talk about. So long, everybody.